Hello and welcome. We're delighted that you're interested in our gun range. And before you head down to the range, we have created this video on how the range operates and what is expected of you and the other shooters while enjoying the range. So let's get started. Our mission statement is simple: to share and ensure that the gun range operates in a safe manner and that everyone has a clear understanding of the range commands for safe usage of all firearms. Our gun range is available to residents and renters of Benson Palm Village and Retama Village. As users of the gun range, we expect you to use it, to enjoy it, and to treat it as if it were your own. We are shooting on private property. However, Mike Roads and Benson Palm Development do not contribute to the maintenance of our range, so please treat our range with respect. With over 100 active shooters, it's important that everyone understands the same gun range procedures. Safe procedures actually start before arriving to the range. We need everyone to understand the process for where to load their magazines, how to enter the firing line, and the basic gun range commands. This will prevent misunderstanding and accidents. All gun range users will be required to register by signing the gun range waiver each season. Users are asked to observe this video to ensure that everyone understands our goals and the range procedures. We ask our users to please wear the colored name tag while at the gun range, and the cost of the gun range maintenance in the past has been covered with donations. Now we are asking for an annual donation which will help to cover the maintenance costs. 4 years ago, the gun range began as a big dirt pile and has evolved to the well-equipped range that we currently use. This was accomplished through hard work of many volunteers and donations from the range users. Our shooters use a wide variety of firearms. Our ladies have been learning with CO2 BB guns, where on Ladies' Day they are becoming our newest gun range members. Handguns of all calibers and styles, rifles and shotguns are also popular. But regardless of the type of firearm used, all shooters are expected to follow the same set of rules, which will be discussed in this video. Prior to arrival at the gun range, we ask that all guns are unloaded. Pack them in the gun case or in your holster, and of course you may preload gun magazines. But we ask that the magazines are stored in the case and not in the firearm. Don't forget that eye and ear protection is required and should be readily available upon arrival. Our gun range is used by many. From the firing line, there can be BB guns, handguns, rifles, and shotguns being fired. There are 3 specific sections to our range. There is a section designated for clay shooters firing shotguns. Handguns and BB guns use the 4 center tables. Rifles have 2 tables with benches set up. What's most important, all 3 sections, the same range commands must be followed. There is only one range officer for all 3 sections and one set of commands or instructions for all shooters to follow. Regardless of which section you are shooting, absolutely no one is to go into the target section until the range has been declared cold. We need to keep the gun range safe. The 3 golden rules that everyone must follow are: 1. To always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction, downrange. 2. Always keep your finger off the trigger. And 3. Always keep the gun unloaded until you are ready to shoot and you are at the firing line. The shelter is an important part of our gun range. On arrival, you should bring all your gear to the shelter. However, under no circumstances will there be loaded guns at the shelter. The shelter is a place to reload your magazines enjoy protection from the sun, and follow fellow shooters. Again, absolutely no gun handling is to happen at the shelter. Yes, this includes showing off that new gun. You need to wait, take the gun to the firing line before sharing with your friends. Safety is of utmost importance. To ensure a safe gun range, we ask that no one carries a gun in their hand at any time. Guns should only be handled at the firing line. Also, don't forget to wear your eye and ear protection. Accidents can happen at the blink of an eye. We want to ensure that everyone understands what is expected of them when shooting at our range. Accidents can happen because of lack of knowledge or ignorance of the safe rules of gun handling, or simply not understanding the proper and safe way to handle a firearm. Most accidents happen because of carelessness or poor and improper gun handling. Accidents can happen because of failure to apply safety rules. Yes, there is a standard set of gun range rules, but at this private range, we have rules which are specific to its usage, the facilities, and to our surroundings. Everyone must take time to read our rules. Failure to understand our rules could lead to an accident and possibly to the closure of this range. We have designated parking above and behind the shelter. The parking is situated there to prevent any possibility of a ricochet from an active session when you arrive. Please ensure that your firearms are unloaded when you leave home. We do not want the handling of a weapon while in the parking lot. Take your firearms to the tables under the shelter and keep them unloaded at all times. When arriving, it is advised that you have your eye and ear protection within easy access, as there are some high-powered rifles being used at this range. We want everyone who comes to the range to consider safety first. There is no such thing as extreme safety. Correcting a situation before it turns bad is a must of every shooter. At the range, we ask that our range commands be followed, that if more than 2 people are shooting, then one is considered the pseudo range command officer. As the range command officer, it is their responsibility to follow our range commands and to provide the guidance to ensure all other shooters are adhering to the commands and safety practices. You are responsible for your own eye and ear protection. Everyone has their own view on the proper eye and ear protection, but it should be noted that it is not only your gun that you need protection from. There will be other guns at the range that may act quite differently than your gun, and you need protection from them also. The majority of accidental discharges have been with unloaded guns, or so the owner thought. Remember, if a gun is not loaded and/or is pointed in a safe direction, there is minimal damage should there be an accidental discharge. In this slide, can you tell if this gun is loaded or not? The chamber is closed and the hammer is cocked. So, what would you think? While at the range, we ask that you keep your slide open for easy visibility, that the chamber is clear, and that the magazine is also removed. Okay, so who is the range officer? Well, if there are 2 or more shooters at the gun range, it is generally the first arrivers who take over as a range officer. But actually, with a little practice, anyone who is familiar with our range commands can be the acting range officer. The range officer will be expected to give commands loud enough for all to hear. This is extremely important for identifying when the range is hot or when the range is cold. Also, the range officer can participate in shooting, or they may choose to watch the shooters for any safety infractions. Well, let's go shooting. Well, not quite. Remember, when you arrive at the range, immediately take your gear to the shelter. Here at the shelter is where the magazines are loaded and where you begin preparation for taking your unloaded gun to the firing line. Please wait for the range's cold command before proceeding to the firing line. Some of you have asked, so what is the firing line? The firing line is the safe area for all shooters to handle their weapons. The orange rebar designates our firing line. All observers must stand behind the firing line when the range is declared hot. When you enter the firing line, your unloaded weapon must still be in its case or holster. It is only when the range officer gives the command, "Load and make ready," do you take your weapon from the case or the holster and load it. Once again, you do not carry your weapon from the observation tables or shelters in your hands. We have 3 sections to our range. The shelter, where your equipment is set and firearms are kept unloaded. The firing line is the only location where your gun is allowed to be loaded. The third, the target area. Here, only when the range is declared cold are you permitted to walk into the target area. Participants at the range have the opportunity to use rifles, handguns, and shotguns. There are specific tables and targets allocated for each of these activities. Please ensure that you use the proper weapon in each of these sections. This will prevent undue damage and costly maintenance. It may be difficult for the range officer to handle all sections at once, but without berms separating our different zones, it is necessary for everyone to follow the same set of range commands. Most people are asking, when can I shoot? And with the amount of shooters utilizing the range, you may have to wait your turn. Once the range has been declared cold, then and only then can you proceed safely to the firing line with an unloaded gun and magazine. Once at the firing line, wait until the range officer gives the command, "Load and make ready," before proceeding. These range commands are designed to cover the movement of the shooter from the time it is their turn to shoot to when they exit the firing line. The commands are sequential to the process of entering the firing line until each firing segment is complete. We ask that each shooter please follow these list of range commands. Although not part of the commands, the range officer should remind everyone of the need to wear safety glasses and hearing protection. This is generally done by stating "eyes and ears." Then the command, "Range is hot," is given. This command should only be given when safe to do so. All shooting participants must be in the firing box, and all spectators are asked to stay behind the firing line. When the range is declared hot, it is necessary to ensure that the 180 degrees from the back of the firing box is clear. The 180 degrees is required for the safety of everyone. The 180-degree area is in front of the shooter is considered the safe range to point the muzzle of the gun. So, when the range is declared hot, no one is to enter the target area or go beyond the firing line in front of the box. Step up to the firing line. This command allows shooters to position themselves in the firing box and to place their cases on the shooting tables. Only shooters are allowed beyond the firing line, and this is the only time a gun is to be in your hand or a gun is being loaded. Notice how clear our shooting tables are? Nice. Load and make ready. This is the command that allows you to take your gun out of your case or holster and load the magazine. Chamber around, but wait for the next command. Remember, there are various guns being loaded, and those with revolvers will take longer to load and make ready. Finally, remember the range is considered hot 180 degrees in front of the shooting tables. The range command, shooters ready? This command is to ensure that one of the shooters is not having a problem loading and making ready. A simple thumbs up will let the range officer know that you're ready. Notice the spectators are behind the firing line. It is the responsibility of the shooter to be familiar with their guns prior to participating. Being familiar means being able to load a magazine, putting the magazine into the gun, and chambering a round. Being familiar with your guns means being able to lock the slide open. This familiarization is necessary to ensure that the shooter is capable of loading their weapon without accidentally pointing it beyond the safe 180-degree range. Fire when ready. Once the shooters have acknowledged that they're ready, the command to fire when ready is given. We ask that a limit of 6 cartridges be fired per session. This allows for a more consistent shooting session. Once you have completed your 6 shots, please wait for the next command by keeping your gun pointed downrange. The command unload and show clear is given to ensure that all weapons being used no longer have a loaded magazine. You are asked to drop your magazine from the gun and show that you are clear with an open slide in the locked position. This ensures the gun is unloaded and in a safe condition to be placed in the gun case or holster. Clear slide and close. This command and the next command allow you to close the slide or cylinder on an empty chamber in preparation to disengage the hammer. Trigger. This command is an important step to ensure that your hammer is disengaged onto an empty chamber and is safe for carrying. Although everyone is confident that there is no cartridge in the chamber, it is still important to point the gun as if you are shooting it. Make sure you have a firm grip on the gun in case an accidental firing, so you are prepared for possible recoil. Holster and carry case. Your gun is now safe to carry in your carrying case or place back into your holster. Step away from the firing line. Take one step back will ensure that you no longer have a gun in your hand. Remember, everyone considers that all guns are loaded. You and the range officer must check to ensure that all guns on the firing line have been put away safely. Range is cold. This is the only time that moving of your gun is permitted. When the range is cold, you are permitted to enter the target section and check to see what you have been shooting. A cold range allows you to carry your case and the gun, loaded magazines to and from the shooting table. Also, a cold range is when moving to another table or back to the shelter is allowed. We are shooting on private property and respect and cleanup is required. Please pick up and place all gun casings or brass into the buckets provided. This includes those tiny .22s that seem to be everywhere. Anytime you pull the trigger and expect a recoil, which you do not get, stop. Keep both hands on the gun and keep it pointed at the target. It is recommended that you wait 30 seconds for a reaction, such as in a hang fire. After the proper amount of time, check your gun to determine what happened and ensure that it wasn't a squib. A squib will leave the bullet lodged in your barrel and, should you reload, could cause serious damage to your gun or injury to you if the gun fires again. Stop and wait. Wait that 30 seconds to ensure that you don't have a hang fire. Stop, drop your magazine, clear your chamber. Then, using the most important tool on the firing line, an unsharpened pencil, carefully drop the pencil down the gun barrel. If the pencil shows clear, you know the bullet did not lodge in the gun barrel. If, however, you cannot drop the pencil through the barrel, you know that a bullet is stuck and you must cease fire immediately. You are responsible for where your bullet goes. When you're shooting, it is important that you always know your target and what is beyond it at the range. Border Patrol has road axes at the end of the range, and when Border Patrol helicopters fly by, we call a ceasefire. Unfortunately, we occasionally have unwanted visitors to our range. It is not uncommon to spot coyote, the farmer's livestock, or even international visitors. It is important that a ceasefire is called to allow safe passage if we do have intruders. Did you know? Anyone, the range officer, a shooter, or anyone observing the activities can call a ceasefire when there is concern for safety of anyone or anything that will cause loss of life or possible damage. But please do not declare a ceasefire just to get to the shooting tables, as there are procedures for arriving at the gun range. When a ceasefire is declared, you must stop shooting immediately. Take your finger off the trigger and keep your gun pointed in a safe position. Then remove the magazine or the bullets from the cylinder of the revolver. Unload your firearm by removing the cartridge from your chamber and have both magazine and gun placed on the shooting bench with the muzzle pointed downrange. The gun must have the cylinder or action open during a ceasefire. Remember that when you squeeze the trigger, it's too late to take it back. Firearms are unforgiving, so please ensure you know your target and think before you start shooting. Please always err on the side of caution while at our range. Okay, can we go shoot yet? Well, not yet. There's still a key component to safe gun handling at our range that includes our clay shooters. Yes, we know that many of us will never shoot clay, but because the clay shooters are part of our range, we still need to share important information. The clay shooting takes place on the far east part of our range. Their section includes a table for the slinger and a shooting or firing box. When clay shooters arrive at the range and are removing their guns from the vehicles or its case, double check to make sure that the shotgun is unloaded by opening the breech or the action. Look down the barrel for any obstructions, as these can be dangerous. Be sure to keep the breech open. This allows everyone to see that your shotgun is unloaded and safe to carry. While over and under or side-by-side shotguns should be open at the breech, please make sure the gun is always carried this way while at the range. Carry your shotgun with the muzzle pointed down. Even though they are open and unloaded, treat your gun as if it were loaded. Clay shooters are asked to bring their unloaded rifles to the range and place them in the provided gun rack located near the shelter. Make sure you have the correct size shell shot for your shotgun and that you don't have the wrong size ammo in your pouch. For our range, we use 7.5, 8, or 9 size shell shot. You should never put a shell in your shotgun unless you are in the shooting box and ready to shoot. If you have a malfunction, continue to hold the gun downrange for 30 seconds and then unload. Anytime your shot sounds light or different, stop shooting immediately. Unload, check your barrel to make sure it is clear and that there is no obstructions. Now let's hit the field and shoot some clay targets. When it's your turn to shoot, be ready. Step up to the firing box. Then, and only then, do you load your shotgun. Point it safely towards the target firing area. When your gun is loaded and you're ready to shoot your target, relax. Then call pull. Say it loudly enough for your puller to hear you clearly. When you are done shooting, open your gun, remove the empty shells, and then exit the firing box. Never move off the firing box until the shotgun is unloaded, open, and safe to carry. Place all shells in your pouch or pick up and dispose of empty shells properly. Again, always carry your shotgun with the muzzle pointed down, and we ask non-shooters to remain out of the firing box unless it is your turn to shoot. Because we have clay shooters, pistol and rifle tables in close proximity to each other, please be alert and follow our range commands. Well, that's it. Welcome to the family and friends of the gun range. Please ensure that you wear your badge at the range so all will know that you have gone through the proper procedures and are entitled to be on private property. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attention, and please join us at the range soon.